of me. And we're living in a day now that people have gotten tired of God. You imagine that? It is the Ecclesiastes said there's nothing new under the sun. Just like they were getting tired of him then, folks are still getting tired of God today. But how many know that I can't make it without the Lord? I need him every day of my life. Every moment that I'm awake, I need him. Every moment that I'm asleep, I need him. And it's just, what have I done to make you grow tired of me? People then begin to think when God has blessed them that they can operate on their own. They get so high-minded and so lifted up at what God has blessed them. They think they can fly on their own then. But it's a dangerous thing. When anybody thinks they can make it without the Lord, God says, answer me. God says, you answer me. He's asking us a question this morning. Answer me. What have I done to make you be halfway committed to me? What have I done to make you only want to serve me on certain days when you feel like it, when you want to? How is it? What have I done to you that you can turn it on one day and turn it off the next? God says, what is this? What have I done to you? To make you not want to serve and make you not want to be committed to me. What have I done? Nothing. And Sister Wood, just like he reminded the children of Israel did, he's reminded us today. He reminded the children of Israel, he said, look, I brought you up. Yes, I did. Out of Egypt. Redeem you from slavery. I sent Moses, Aaron and Miriam to help you. Don't you remember? You see, so many times we are quick to forget what God has done for us. When we're down and out, we want to pray to him, oh Lord God, I need you. Lord, come on and see about me. And Lord, if you do it for me this time, we always say this time. Lord, if you do it for me this time, Lord, I will serve you the balance of my days. God blesses us, sure enough. He lifts us up from our problem, our bed of affliction, and then when we get up, we may do well for a couple of days or maybe a week or two, but then after that, how quickly we forget. We go back living the way that we once lived. We go back treating God the way that God said you ought not to treat me. But God said, I'm a jealous God. You ain't got no business having no other God before me. Nothing else should come before God. Yet we put everything else before him. Always say, what Christians ought to be on Sunday morning? What Christians ought to be on Wednesday night? If you got a job, I understand that. If you're working, something else is going on. But what Christians ought to be on Wednesday night? You see, if the people of God won't do it, you see, are we doing what the Lord requires? And the thing about it is that we know that many of us work regular jobs, you know what? And we all tired. I went to the doctor Monday, he gave me new blood pressure medicine. And when I take it, guess what? I'm a little, But guess what? I came on anyway. God will sustain, because guess what? If I can go to that job, how come I can't do the same thing for God? Because if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't have made last week. If it wasn't for God, I wouldn't have made no week. Then we don't want to remember. We don't want to remember when we didn't have a job. We don't want to remember when we didn't have a job and we went down on our knees. And said, Lord, if you bless me, please. And he blessed us. You see, we're good at making vows, but not good at carrying them out. He said, look, Israel, I've been good to you. And he said the same thing to us. Look, people, you. When others had their home destroyed, you still living in yours. You still living in yours. Some folks still outdoors. Some folks still don't have clothes to wear. And you spent the most time this morning in your closet trying to decide what to wear. Some of you spend more time in the closet than it took for you to get here driving from your house to the church. And then yet we want to treat God any kind of way. Yet then we want to say, oh, I ain't got time for God. It's bad enough when the folk in the world are saying that, but then when the folks in the house of the Lord say that same thing, I should say the same thing. What good then is it? God told him then, I got a complaint against you. God said the same thing to us because he's the same God that changes not. And we can keep on fooling ourselves and thinking that we can just go on listening to this big stuff. But one day, are we playing church? Or are we doing what the Lord requires? God says, remember how King Balak of Moab tried to have you cursed. And you know, he said, look, when other folk tried to do you harm, when other folk didn't want to see you get a blessing, God says, remember how that the man was ready to issue a curse. But somehow he had made it up in his mind that he was going to curse the people of Israel, the people of God. But somehow, before he could get the words out, God surrendered his mind. God arrested his mind, and instead of a curse came out a blessing. You mean to tell me, like my grandmother said, who wouldn't serve a God like that? Even when people had the intent of doing you harm, people had the intent that God turned that curse into a blessing. Somebody ought to give God some praise. Oh, it doesn't matter to me what folks do. They do that, all that, and that. Because if God be for you, if God be for you, he's more than the whole world against you. He said, my people, remember. Remember, God said, I did everything I could. He said that. And look at it with me. He said that in verse, I believe it is in verse 5. He said, I did everything I could. And when you look at that, that's a beautiful expression. To hear a mighty God say, I did everything I could.
God did everything.
A loving God to say, I did everything I could. Every need that you requested of me, I met. When you got hungry, I was providing food for you. When you needed shelter from the sun, I guided you and I provided shelter. When you needed light at night, I was your light at night. God said everything, I did everything I could. Even when you start complaining about the food I was giving you, I gave you something else to eat. God said I did everything I could. And yet, look at how you treat me. Are we playing? Or are we doing what the Lord requires? So then the people start saying, okay, now we got to do something. Can't we give God an offering? You know, we're always going to want to look for the easy kind of way out. You say, well, Lord, I know I've done wrong, so here's an extra $200, Lord. Lord, if you take this extra $200, then, you know, that might make it a little bit easier. But how many of you know that God ain't impressed with the money that we think we have or the resources? Because first thing, it ain't ours in the first place. It all belongs to God in the first place. So there is no offering, no material thing that we can give God in order to pacify him, because the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. So it ain't nothing that we can do to try and bribe our God. He said, okay, he said, now, you don't really understand God.
All right.
you still playing church, because by them even coming thinking that they could offer, they said in verse 7, can we give him 1,000 rams? Can we give him offerings of yearling calves and 10,000 rivers of olive oil? They said we can even give our firstborn. I mean, that's personal. When you start offering up your firstborn children, that really means that they wanted to show God that they're sincere. That they're sincere about offering their commitments unto Him by offering up their firstborn. But how many of you know children come to the Lord in the first place? And the world, He said, and everybody therein belongs to Him. He already owns. You can't offer God any barrel of oil. Everything is His. The earth, all that. But I hear Micah crying out and saying, stop, it's time.
All right.
To stop playing. And start doing what the Lord requires.
Yes, sir.
First, He says to do justly.
All right.
Practice justice in your dealings.
Yes.
Particularly our dealing with each other. Give to each what is rightfully theirs.
Right.
Don't try to hold it back. Looking out for self, and when we try to look out for self, we ain't doing nothing but harming ourselves. Recently, I was told of a story about a homeless man that found several $1,000s, and he gave it back. He gave it to the authorities that the rightful owner may claim that. And what was reported, I didn't really read it, or hear it, listen to it very well, but I did hear enough to hear they asked the homeless man, said, do you have anything to say? He said, you're homeless, sir. And yet, you have the money to improve your condition. You need it. But yet, you turn around and give it to the popo. And he said, wouldn't you do the same? Now, when he said that, I stopped brushing my teeth that morning.